White Demon. I don't know her name. I don't want to know her name, or if it's even a woman. All I know is that I wake up around 2:30 or so in the morning sometimes, and she's there in front of my window. But let me start at the beginning. I was 2 when my uncle died, thanks to a patch of ice on the road and a bad stop at the end of a hill. I don't remember everything of that time, but I do remember dancing in the cemetery. I was wearing a little outfit, I wasn't supposed to get dirty, and everyone was so solemn. There were a lot of people there, too. My mom wasn't paying me any attention, so as most young children do, I went to play. I didn't understand the concept of death back then. There were many people in the cemetery, like I mentioned, and some of them were kids who looked sort of weird, funny. I didn't care how they looked, though. We started dancing together. You know, the typical little kid shimmies that make up dancing before you have full control and any confidence in your motor skills. I don't remember this part, but apparently my aunt spotted me and told me to stop dancing with dead people. It's not good. That's my last part of my memory. The rest up until I was 8 is according to my mom. Apparently, after the funeral, I would point out the strange people that were around us all the time. They were funny-looking old men and women, and sometimes even terrifying people that were all red and hurty. My mom believes in the supernatural and isn't part of any particular religion, so she's not a churchgoer. She knows what I was seeing were ghosts or spirits, and she always told me to ignore them, to pretend they weren't real and just walk past them. So I did, until I was 8. I remember that night clearly, very clearly. I was in my bed, a nice captain's mate's bed with drawers under it stuffed with toys. I woke up when it was still dark outside and the street light came in through my curtains. I came awake suddenly, not drowsy in the slightest. Nothing was hazy, like in a waking dream, but crystal clear. Opening my eyes, I saw a woman standing in front of my window. Impressive, really, since my clothes dresser was in front of it, making a good 2 feet of space between the window and my room. She was dressed all in white, or very pastel pale color. The dress was in a frilly, old-fashioned style with ruffles on the hem and wrists, thin pleating across the chest, that sort of thing. Really Victorian-ish. I didn't really want to say that it was a dress or a nightgown. I wasn't sure. Her hair wasn't super long, to her mid-back and straight, maybe a dark, sandy brown color, not black, but not blonde. It looked clean, like she'd just brushed it, and when she faced the window, I felt peaceful. I didn't wonder why she was in my room. It happened often enough that a ghost would pop in or out that I wasn't scared of anything odd happening, and in my whole life I never witnessed anything supernatural occurring to real-life objects either. No poltergeist activity, no weird smells or horrifying occurrences beyond this creature. And I do call her a creature. See, from the back, she looks like any woman from a long time ago, maybe someone who died in her sleep or something. I don't feel threatened. I don't feel scared or hazy or even slightly alarmed, just wide awake for no reason beyond her being in my room. Until she turns around. She always turns around. What I saw had me run screaming to my mom. The woman had no eyes and a giant black pit where her heart should be. Her chest was a normal sized, not overly large or small, and her face was neither thin nor plump. It was oval looking, with a bit of a snub nose and slightly plump lips. She could be gorgeous. Except her eyes were gone. Just black pits where eyelashes and eyeballs should be. The dress, or nightgown, or whatever it was clean and tidy everywhere except where a large circle of pitch black, with somehow fuzzy edges, was located right where her heart should be, almost obliterating one breast area. I still don't technically feel terrified of her. She doesn't give off that kind of energy or threatening feeling at all. I ran screaming to my mom because even at the age of 8, I know that this ghost wasn't normal. On a side note, I hate seeing memory ghosts. What I call residual energy left over from traumatic incidents like murders and accidents. They aren't really ghosts, per se, just like memories of sometimes moving pictures or people before, during, or after something traumatic happens. Sometimes they get stuck, left behind in the area of where they were. I don't know how to explain it. Anyways, those ghosts tend to show their injuries more often than not. I dislike old battlefields and all kinds of hospitals for just that reason. Anyways, this isn't a memory ghost. She follows me. The next night, I began to have nightmares of a man hurting a woman in the kitchen of the house we lived in. He stabbed her with a knife before I woke up crying. When I told my mom, she went grim. Not pale, because she was used to me talking about scary things, but grim. It turns out that the tenants before the last ones had ended up in a bad relationship where the husband had stabbed his wife in the kitchen. She didn't die, though, and is still alive as far as I know, but the scene had happened. My mom knew about it, but hadn't said anything because I was 8 and already saw scary stuff. I didn't need any more extra things running around in my brain. This creature I see always brings bad things when I see her. Nightmares. I've seen her almost regularly since then, 20 years this year. Sometimes she shows up in the spring, sometimes in the fall, summer, or winter. There's no specific dates. I've discovered that I always wake up to see her at or around 2:30 in the morning. No matter what I have in front of my window, she still stands in front of it, so she isn't corporal. Her figure is always the same. I never see her feet. She never says anything, just turns to look at me. I know I'm not dreaming because I can move normally and everything is clear. I never speak to her. Something in me prevents it, like it's not a good idea to do anything to get more of her attention. Every time I see her, I see around a week of nightmares. Always about things that have happened in the house or on the land I live on at the time. Sometimes it's just a dream of a prey being hunted by a predator, like a rabbit, being killed by a wolf. I'm always the rabbit. Or a deer hunted by a human. Those ones I can get over soon enough. I love the taste of deer meat, and though I haven't tried rabbit yet, I want to hunt in the future for my own food. It would probably be cheaper. It's the human against human violence I can't handle. The druggie going after his woman in a drug-fueled rage, a wife going after her husband with a fireplace poker of all things, a violent break-and-enter that went horribly wrong when the husband fought back. It's always tied to the land or the house that I live in at the time, and it's exhausting to go through. I'm terrified to live in seedy neighborhoods for more than just the usual reasons because of this. I told a priest once, and he said she's a demonic being. I told a priest once, and he said that she's a demonic being, blocking my view into the other realms because she always stands at my window. He suggested I do some prayers, or talk to my local white coven for cleansing, or see a shaman of some kind. He was very practical about who I should see, since I said I wasn't specifically religious. I'm not sure if she is. A demon, that is. Does she leave that window every time I see her, leaving that portal into the other realms open for me to have these nightmares? Is she blocking them? Is she giving me these bad dreams deliberately? I've only looked into the histories of a few places when I have these nightmares, and aside from the animal ones, most of the histories reflect what I've dreamed of. Not always completely accurate, but mostly so. I talk about this freely, my ability to see ghosts and memory ghosts, whatever you want to call those. I still see them fairly often, but ignore them, as my mom suggested back when I was little. To be sure, since I am a modern woman after all, I have had tests done on my brain and such to rule out mental issues. Turns out I'm high-functioning autistic, where it can affect how I speak to people, and my attention span is a little bit off-kilter. Gee, I wonder why. But I don't have seizures, which can cause hallucinatory effects depending on the severity of the electrical short-circuiting in the brain that occurs to create a seizure. I'm not schizophrenic, and I don't have anything wrong with me that can cause me to hallucinate. I don't do drugs, I don't drink alcohol, and I don't smoke. I know, I'm boring. Oh well. So, if nothing is wrong with my mind, why do I see ghosts? What is this demonic type of creature. Is she actually a demon? If she keeps the memories of nastiness away, even if she is a demon, do I want her to go away? I have a lot of questions and not many answers. Thank you very much, Niirac, over at Reddit for my first ever story tale. Wow. Okay, verbalization here. As you can probably tell, and probably could have guessed from the story, this was the first ever narration that I've ever done. I have a ways to go when it comes to learning, and any tips are very useful. If you don't like my voice, don't listen. But if you like the story and you want to hear more, go ahead and like and subscribe. I need to learn how to slowly talk. I plan to upload once a week for the time being. If you have any horror stories or ghost stories or any kind of scary stories that you want to tell, feel free to message me over on Reddit. And if you have any ghost pictures or, interesting artwork, I'm always looking for stuff that I can show off on my stories here. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you again next week.